Yes, Saha, and welcome to the Insurtech Story Podcast, the platform to spread knowledge on insurance innovation, digital disruptions, and entrepreneurship. Our website, insurtechstory.com, and we are available on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Today, we will discuss on the topic, the future of insurance payments. And for now, I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Ruth Polyblank, who is the Vice President and Partnership Lead for Insurance at Mastercard. Ruth has specific responsibility for identifying new opportunities in the global insurance market by leveraging Mastercard's existing capabilities and assets to innovate through collaboration with the industry. As an insurance marketing and strategy expert, Ruth holds over 20 years' experience and has worked with traditional and insurtech businesses to design vertical propositions and growth strategies with particular expertise in the SME sector. Ruth previously held leadership and management roles at Chubb, CLS, EY, and Fusion. As well as her professional accomplishments, Ruth is a regular speaker, author, and mentor within the insurance sector. She was the co-author of the Insurtech book and was named by We Are the City a top 50 woman in tech 2018 and is also an ambassador for the CII Ensuring Women's Futures program. So Ruth, a warm welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you today. Thanks for having me.
Would you like to tell us a bit on your background and your role at Mastercard?
Yeah, so as you said, my background is sort of approaching 23 years in the insurance sector. I'm a strategic marketer by background, but I've been fortunate enough to work across most sectors and segments, and sort of personal interest in tech has led me towards working with more and more insurtechs and in innovation. And at Mastercard, I'm very fortunate. I work in a team which is focused on partnership with industry. And so I look to utilize Mastercard's assets in the insurance sector by working with insurance organizations of all type, from the very smallest insurtech to global reinsurers.
Right, amazing. Ruth, with respect to the payments part in insurance, of course, you have been working with various partners across the industries. So, what challenges do payments pose across the insurance value chain? What do you see, and how is Mastercard placed to help in this aspect? Like, what approaches are you taking with the industry and so on?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest challenge in payments and insurance, and it's one I was guilty of until I came to Mastercard, is that we just don't take payments seriously as a concept in insurance. It's just not a thing. You don't see a head of payments in large insurance incumbents. So we treat it as a sort of tactical pain point. We invest in insurance and distribution, but actually when it comes to collecting premiums and paying claims, we're not focused on great customer outcomes. And we're not sort of taking the strategic view of how we can make this better and more engaging for our customers. So I think that's a missed opportunity, honestly, because not only are we losing income in terms of it being very inefficient, but in a world where customer acquisition in insurance is incredibly difficult and expensive, we have one of the highest pay-per-click word searches for the term insurance on Google. We're not taking every opportunity to deliver great customer outcomes by collecting premiums frictionlessly and then paying claims in real time when and where they need to be paid. So the way Mastercard is approaching this is taking the extraordinary payments capabilities and knowledge that Mastercard has, but working with through my team, who are all ex-insurance, or actually still insurance people, but certainly of the insurance industry, to partner with insurers to create sort of bespoke solutions that really deliver for customers.
Right, interesting. We all talk about the emerging tech and how it's impacting insurance, but payments is something even, I have come across very recent after the discussion with you that this is something that the industry also might look at to, resolve some of the challenges that perhaps it's silent for the consumers yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, just another quick follow-up question to you is, what role does data have to play in the future of InsurTech? And can you throw some light on the trends you see here? Like, for example, one of the important type that's coming up is on the parametric insurance. Uh, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, lots of thoughts actually, Sarah. I mean, I think data is absolutely fundamental to the future of insurance. And
Right.
insurance is about understanding, like really deep understanding of the risks that could impact an individual or a business. And it's about qualifying and quantifying them and then accepting payments to transfer that risk onto you as the insurance organization's balance sheet. That's what you're doing. You're taking risk away from people and businesses. And the process that we go through to make that happen is, inordinately clumsy and awkward and repetitive and inefficient. So by collecting data and understanding more and more about businesses, and a lot of this data is kind of available from alternative sources, we can considerably improve both the experience but also that transfer of risk. And one of the key focuses for me and my team is that, as Mastercard, we understand what's going on in the world through transactional data. We can see spend as it happens, and we can augment that to reflect what's going on in the world. So we are using transactional data now in an initiative which we actually launched yesterday in London, called the BCI,
Right.
which uses data, transactional data for small businesses to infer non-material damage business interruption. So when something stops a small business trading as they should have done that isn't a material impact, like a fire or a flood, so it could be a cyber event, it could be that a road gets closed, it could be a train or tube or underground strike, we can actually see not only that there's been an impact, but we can infer what the economic loss was. And that's really important in insurance, because the existing process to understand the impact of an event, or whether an event even occurred, is really cumbersome and very, very expensive. And so we have the opportunity to help insurers create solutions for small businesses that stop being after the event, sometimes long after the event, compensation, and actually provide something which is more an intervention at the time of the incident to deliver funds when they're needed to help those businesses survive the event.
Right. So, how exactly does this, or rather, what's the potential of this to modernize the payments part in insurance, especially, for the B2B segment?
I mean, I think the opportunity is huge.
Right.
But if we focus on, you mentioned parametrics before,
Yeah.
which I kind of neglected to come back to, but parametric insurance for me is really critical going forward.
Hmm.
Traditional insurance, total loss insurance, has a really important part to play in creating redress for businesses and customers. You need to
Yeah.
rebuild, you need to mend, but actually parametric insurance does exactly what I said. It allows you to deliver money right to the point of the event and the impact, to mitigate some of that risk immediately, but also to reduce the total loss ratio. It's that old analogy of, if you put a tarpaulin on a leaking roof, you prevent further damage. If someone is in a situation where they're facing, say, a natural catastrophe, hurricane's going to hit, the data is such that we know that hurricane's coming, but if you physically don't have the money to fill a car with gas and get out of town, or you can't pay to stay in a hotel 2 zip codes over, that information is useless. So I think it's really important that we're bringing together all of these capabilities to create much better, intuitive insurance solutions. And that's the kind of stuff that we're working on in terms of parametric and using our data, and then delivering the payment in near real time as opposed to long after the event.
Well, I think this is very interesting. It's really have the critical touch points of the consumer life cycle, I must say. Um,
Ex- ex-
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and look, the use cases for this are incredible. This is not a single use case for UK or North American small businesses. If we
Yeah.
look at the same principles and we adopt them in, say, fishing communities in
Hmm.
the Philippines, where there are high winds expected,
Right.
if fishing communities, they go out and fish even though that they know that it's dangerous
Mm.
because they need that income. And
Right.
actually, interested organisations that can adopt parametric policies that pay those individuals directly, a day's wages or a day's fishing to prevent them going out.
Yeah.
um, the longer term impact is that the vessel isn't then damaged, so they can fish as soon as the winds have dropped.
Yeah.
Longer term, people aren't looking at non-sustainable fishing practices to compensate for the fact that they now can't fish in the traditional means. So, these tools and solutions, understanding the risk, the data, the design of a parametric program which addresses a sort of survival fund rather than the totality of loss, and then the ability to move money into individuals or communities or advocates very, very quickly. When it comes together, like I say, we could be talking about the largest city in North America, we could be talking about a fishing community, in the Philippines or Indonesia, or we could be talking about, a person in Europe. The principles are the same.
So, out of curiosity, you mentioned about fishing. Do you think that same model can be applied to crop insurance for like farmers, and of course they have similar sort of problems when it comes to agriculture?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're already seeing lots of great initiatives, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, around ensuring yield from crops. But we're also seeing some really interesting incentivization and alternative income streams in agriculture where sustainable practices are adopted. So where, for example, a smallholder may alternate their irrigation processes, they can be rewarded with a carbon offset token, which many Western governments are, prepared to buy and distribute for their own offset objectives. So again, the ability to understand the data, what's happening, to bring in multiple data sources, to design insurances, whether it's yield index or what have you, and then be able to move monies between different entities, whether they're smallholders or whether they're sort of Western governments, is really critical in making these really innovative structures work in the future.
Right. So it's insurance is interesting, I must say.
I mean, I think so.
Talking about parametric, who do you think will benefit from this type of insurance, and what's next for Mastercard in this space?
Well, I mean, as I said, I think everyone can benefit from it. There is fear in the industry and some negativity around parametrics, that there's some kind of buzzword or fad. But actually, as a tool, I think parametrics enhance total loss coverages and just expand the reach. I think the people that benefit most are those further down the value chain, if you like. So, the traditional approach to a parametric for a natural catastrophe is to pay the policyholder, who will usually be, a very large entity, a city, a government, whomever it is. And then when they've got the check in the hand, they have to start thinking about what they're going to do with it. Whereas with payment-led parametrics, where you've pre-configured who is vulnerable post-hurricane, because actually we see things, like water on the ground, water left behind after a hurricane, being far more impactful than the winds themselves, because they open vulnerable communities up to sort of disease and ill health. So being able to, at the point of impact, push money and advice to those who are impacted, because you already know who they are and you already have lines of communication and registration for them, I think it's them that actually benefit the most, because they get the help that they need when they need it.
Right.
As I say, rather than disaster relief, which can be very ad hoc, unfortunately, because you don't know what you need, you haven't got the data from the ground.
True. Of course, the future of insurance payments, as you said, will be heavily influenced by technology, changing customer preferences, and of course the regulatory or the governance framework. And just to summarize, insurance will need to adapt to trends such as digital payments, blockchain, AI, machine learning, pay-as-you-go models, and most importantly, which you rightly mentioned, is data security. So with that, thank you so much for this fantastic discussion, Ruth, and thank you for sharing your thoughts today. A true delight to have you as our guest.
Oh no, it's my absolute honor. Thank you so much.
And lastly, to wrap this up, thank you for listening and see you at our next episode. Take care and stay safe. Goodbye for now.